ladies and gentlemen, Vincenzo Italiano is world class on a non-world class team. Interesting. It said Italiano, is he the best in Europe? And we've been talking about this for quite a while. He is such a good manager. He's eventually going to be the next, possibly Juventus manager, possibly Italia Izuri manager. But they're saying he's, and he has the skill set to be eventually one of the best. We've talked about it before. They're saying he's considered to be one of the top coaches in Europe. Bologna is a great team. Hear what they got to say.
Io però voglio sottolineare come Vincenzo Italiano stia diventando veramente un allenatore super top e lo si vede per me da come legge le partite, come le sue squadre vadano a mettere le tende nella metacampo avversaria, come sia capace di riaggredire.
So, I've talked about before. With Frank, we talked about before how the top managers in Serie A, and he said Vincenzo Italiano. We said, world class or not. I think it was last year. We said world class or not. Vincenzo Italiano was on the precipice because he hadn't had enough experience yet to do it. Now he has, and now what he's doing with Bologna, taking over for Thiago Motta, took him to the Champions League, and then now he's adding levels to them. He's showing he is a great manager. He's ready for the next step, and how he reads the games, how his team will just dominate possession in the opposition's half, how they counterattack. It's just been remarkable what Bologna and their limited resources are doing under Vincenzo Italiano. Majority of that is the coaching.
Come sia capace di cambiare gli interpreti e nonostante poi dopo si cambino in continuazione i giocatori riescono sempre a portare il loro valore, riescono sempre a portare qualcosa.
Says he's always changing players, moving them around, and they all perform. We talk about Ricci coming in, making the most of his opportunities. Bologna players in general, whoever comes off the bench, they come in and they do what they're supposed to be doing, and get results no matter what. It all comes down to coaching. It's a funny what he just said there about Bologna is what we have said about Atalanta in the past, and before that, Udinese. Plug and play, Sassuolo as well. Plug and play, where you doesn't matter if how many players you move around and this and that. They're like a chameleon. They just adapt and continue. It's really remarkable what Italiano has done with this Bologna team. If you look at the skill set level of Bologna compared to its direct rivals, it's an average team. It's a standard team, as it says here. But their consistency, the way they punch above their weight, it's really remarkable what they're doing. It really is.
Ma l'effetto italiano vogliamo parlarne? Perché se noi andiamo a prendere gli 11 giocatori del Bologna, che sono ottimi giocatori, non possono fare le prestazioni al netto di un buon valore che stanno facendo oggi. È un allenatore che ha cambiato sostanzialmente il livello della squadra e ha cambiato soprattutto il livello di 3-4 interpreti che oggi sono diventati giocatori internazionali, perché oggi ci sono dei giocatori che sono forti e dobbiamo guardare proprio in ambito internazionale in questo contesto. Quindi quando parliamo di italiano, ragazzi, bisogna parlare di uno dei migliori allenatori che ci sono oggi nel panorama europeo.
So essentially what we just said about Gasperini and Atalanta and the plug and play is what he just reiterated there with Milan or with Bologna, and saying like the squad that they play unbelievable, but you put any other coach with them, put them in any other setting, they don't perform this way. They're overperforming. It doesn't matter who he puts in there. He's changing players left and right. Vincenzo Italiano is bringing up the level of this Bologna team. And just when you thought, he was coming in, again, a good coach is coming to a good team, the play would be consistent. No, he's bringing the level of the players up so much so that, not everyone's level's going up, but then you got 3 or 4 or 5 players who their levels have increased so much that they're now on their national teams, can call up for international play when they weren't even being sniffed at, even looked at before. And that's damn good coaching. And he says, for all these different reasons, this is why he considers Vincenzo Italiano not only one of the top managers in Serie A, he's saying one of the top managers in Europe. That's a bold statement. You're taking Serie A. We'll give him the credit for that. Yeah, absolutely, Serie A. Then you start looking, you look at the managers in La Liga, for example, Spain. Yeah, he's up there. He's up there with the top 3 managers there for sure. Look at England. Yeah, absolutely. France, Netherlands, Belgium. I mean, yeah, wherever you look, yeah, I think that's a valid statement, and I'm on board with that. We thought he could be this type of manager where he's considered a world class. Ladies and gentlemen, Vincenzo Italiano is world class on a non world class, not even an elite Italian team, skill level wise. Not saying by play, skill level wise. And we talk about this great adaptation by Vincenzo Italiano. What greater proof was it than last year's Champions League, where they made a Champions League, right? Obviously, Thiago Motta got them to Champions League the year before, so they're playing the Champions League. Vincenzo Italiano himself is only played in the Conference League and Europa League. It's Champions League is a different level. It just is, my friends. They struggle at the beginning. A new team for Vincenzo Italiano, new competition for him. Bologna struggled mightily. They looked like they were never going to win a game, and then they became one of the hottest Serie teams at the end of Champions League because they started performing. Because he started adapting, started learning, started tweaking things. That's quick adaptability. That's amazing by a manager.
Ti dico una cosa. Bologna va in finale di Supercoppa. Poi non so come finisce, ma passa con l'Inter.
The relationship between Bologna and his assistant coach Nicolini and the other staff members, it's super tight. It's super tight. And the only one that they're saying could be compared to is Allegri with his staff. Now he's saying what puts Italiano with his direct relationship with his staff different from everybody else. I mean, he talks about like they train hard, they play hard, they play 3 times a week, they play attacking, aggressive football. They're constantly. There's a handful of players, 6, 7 players that are untouchable in terms of starting 11, but they move players around all the time. They change formations, and the fact that as much as they play, as often as they play, as hard as they play, they don't have muscle injuries. I mean, I could tell you with the teams I support, my teams always seem to have muscle injuries every week. They said they've had 2, maybe 3 muscle injuries this year. That's pretty damn good for a team that plays 3 times a week. That's one of the things about the downsides of playing 3 times a week is you have so many injuries, and so you need the depth. That's why they struggled at the beginning of last year. Bologna didn't have the depth as these other teams in Champions League, Serie or not. And so it's always going to happen where you're going to have injuries and you don't have enough depth, and so it hurts too. But not this year. They figured it out. Whatever they're doing, people aren't getting injured right now. They're not muscular injuries, at least. They're saying that the preparation that Italiano and his staff they do before games are second to none. They're saying they're so damn good, even compared to Allegri and anybody else you want to put them against. And the fact that because of this preparation, these guys aren't overly stressed, they're not vulnerable to or susceptible to possible muscle injuries. That goes a long way, and talk about kind of how great he is and how great his staff is. It's not, when you have a good manager, it's not just about the manager. It's about his team that is around him, his staff that's around him. And Vincenzo Italiano's staff is top notch. The 2 or 3 times where they did have a muscle injury, it didn't affect the team. How many times any other team where this will happen, it'll affect the team for sure. And with Bologna, it hasn't. He is the one manager who will change his team 38 games out of 38, and there's no drop off. There's no difference in their team, game in and game out. You can't say that about anybody else, right? You can't say that about anybody else. We saw the opposite of that when Sarri with his great teams in the past, whatever Napoli or Lazio, he kept the same starting 11 all the time, and eventually they wore themselves out. The rotation of these players and the fact that they don't drop level, one, it brings the level of the whole team up because everyone's getting an opportunity, everyone's performing. You're not just relying on this 11 guys. And then if you have injuries, you plug and play, bring somebody else on, and it doesn't affect the team. This is the manager doing fantastic work, beautiful work. Vincenzo Italiano deserves all the credit for that. So probably a good place to end Serie A on that note. But yeah, I think Vincenzo Italiano should be considered as one of the top managers in Europe. We've said it for years already that this guy is going to be one of the top managers. And this year, it's just all the pieces are coming together for Bologna and him in particular. And so if they make a Champions League this year, that'd be amazing. They're only within 2 points from Champions League spot, which is unreal with the quality that they have compared to everyone around them.